Hello and welcome to Reggie'sTake.com, podcast number 16. Choose wisely, for while the true grail will bring you life, the false grail will take it from you.
Wise words.
Yes. Today we're going to talk a little bit about Indiana Jones. That's right, our favorite archaeologist will be returning to the big screen. We're also going to talk a little bit about the Ghostbusters movie. Have you seen the trailer? It's pretty ghastly as far as I'm concerned.
Ooh, nice pun.
Yeah, thank you. We're also going to talk a little bit about Predator, as one of the original stars from the original movie, Shane Black, is looking to bring it back to theaters as well. Nothing specific today. We're just going to talk movies, talk shop. Joining me today again is James from the True Believers. How you doing?
Pretty good. How you doing, man?
I'm good. What's new in the world?
There's that Batman and Superman movies coming out. As of the recording, we haven't
seen
come
it,
out yet.
but by the time this thing gets posted, it will be out. Look for our review. That'll be coming
shortly. If you didn't check it out, you should check it out. We've got both of our Batman and Superman retrospectives posted.
Yes.
Reggie did one on Batman. I did one on Superman. Check them out.
Yes.
They're informative, witty, and funny.
Oh, yes. Plenty to look forward to this movie season. We've been doing a lot of specialty kind of podcasts with just Batman, Superman, and then before that, Star Wars stuff and just some of the other stuff we've looked at. This one to start with Harrison Ford. Disney announced that Lucasfilm announced that Harrison Ford and Steven Spielberg are going to be returning for a fifth Indiana Jones movie in July of 2019.
Yeah.
They've already hired a writer. The guy was also a part of The Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but there was also a number of writers who also worked on it.
Yeah.
He may have helped write it, but I don't know how much he actually had to do with it.
Yeah.
David Coep, that's Spielberg's hired to write.
Yeah, David Coep?
Yes.
He's doing it?
Yeah.
He did Jurassic Park, Spider-Man.
He's done War of the Worlds, and a few other things. Now, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull has taken a pretty bad rap.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a watchable movie. I can think of about a good 10 other movies that are worse than that movie. But but as far as the Indiana Jones series is concerned, it's probably the least of the four.
Well, I wouldn't say probably. I mean,
okay. I'm being
obviously.
I'm being nice, as you would say. You're being awful soft on it.
You know, well, I don't think you're being that soft on it. I think that I don't think it's a great movie by any means. I do think it's kind of a bad Indiana Jones movie, but in my opinion, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, not a great movie, but it's still better than most of the Indiana Jones wannabes that came out over the years. Like National Treasure, like who cares?
Well, the first National Treasure I enjoyed.
Yeah,
I enjoyed the first National Treasure.
Or those crappy mummy movies with Brendan Fraser.
I'll say again, I enjoyed the first one of that.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but I also want to blame part of that on Lucas.
Oh, yeah.
Because there was a script that was turned in by Frank Darabont, or how you pronounce his last name.
Darabont?
Yeah, the guy who wrote The Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah.
He had turned a script in, and...
he turned down the guy who wrote Shawshank Redemption.
And so apparently Spielberg and Ford loved that script, and were willing to do that movie, but Lucas came in, said didn't want to do it, voted it down, and they went with George's idea. So I think Spielberg and Ford went along with Lucas. And when they really probably shouldn't have. But then at that time, Lucas was still in charge of Lucasfilm, so what are you going to do?
It is sad, but I mean, you think about it. Star Wars The Force Awakens was as good as it was because George Lucas wasn't involved
in it. And that's kind of sad to say in a certain sense, because he was the one who created that whole universe.
Yeah, and he was the one that
helped create Indiana Jones. It was basically his idea. He went to Spielberg saying, hey, how would you like to direct a James Bond-type movie set in the 30s?
I think all the money and fame, not to say that I turned into a bad person, I don't think it did, but I think it made him out of touch. I do think so. I think that he became so into his own movies that he became out of touch as to whether or not they were any good.
And there's been no mention of whether or not Lucas will be involved in this fifth one. And not to sound mean, cynical.
No, we all hope he doesn't.
I just hope he stays away from it. Go to the premiere, invite him to the premiere, let him watch it. Whether or not he keeps his mouth shut on that, it's another story. But
well, he's retired. Eventually, you have to stop. If what you're making isn't very good, eventually you have to stop.
He should really look at it as letting the kids are leaving the house.
Yeah.
Lucasfilm is now owned by Disney, not him. The kids have kind of...
And he made that choice.
Yeah, he he made that choice, as we've discussed before. I mean, you get $4 billion. Disney's going to do what they want to do to get their money back, and you can't blame them.
Didn't he use that money to set up a school or something?
I don't know what he did. I could really care less what he's done with the money.
He actually did something really good with it. Like, he didn't just pocket it, and it actually went to a lot of charity and stuff.
I'm sure he's probably got enough money coming in off other stuff that he doesn't need to worry about.
He's made enough money off of Star Wars toys
alone
last 3 lifetimes.
Yeah. Harrison Ford was recently on Jimmy Kimmel Live, and he spoke about returning as Indiana Jones, saying he's excited about the opportunity to work with Spielberg again on one of his most famous characters. I would agree with that part. Yeah. The chance to revisit a part that has brought great pleasure to so many people is something Ford doesn't want to pass up. And I think after appearing as Han Solo again in The Force Awakens and knowing kind of what the fan reaction was to Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, Spielberg and Ford didn't want that to be known as their last movie together.
I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, I do. I think they want to go out with a bang and not out with a
I think they want to make as good as Indiana Jones movie as possible. Hopefully return it back to as possible as good as what Raiders... I'm drawing a damn blank.
Last Crusade.
Yes, Last Crusade.
Even if it's only as good as Temple of Doom, it's
still be better.
That's a good movie.
Yes.
You know, I mean, like, whatever.
Well, and Temple of Doom, helped pretty much implement the PG-13 rating.
Yeah, it did.
Now, just talking a little bit about Harrison Ford returning. Now, this next part may sound like I'm not happy that he's returning. That's far from the truth. I want to see Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones. I mean, he always will be Indiana Jones, no matter what Disney does in the future. But at the same time, and I'm going to be a little, playing devil's advocate here, I'm kind of wondering if this is the right direction they should be going with a 5th Indiana Jones movie. I'm not saying that Harrison Ford and Spielberg don't deserve another chance to redeem themselves from the last one. I'm just saying by the time this movie gets out...
there's not going to be a 6th one.
Not with Harrison Ford.
You said he's going to be how old? 78 by the time
77,
the 5th
78
one's coming out?
Time the 5th one comes out.
So how old is Spielberg going to be? He's going to be close to that. He's going to be 70 probably.
I don't know exactly what his age is.
I think he's younger
than Ford. But, a director can get away with directing a lot longer than what... Yeah. I mean, let's face it, this is kind of like an action-adventure role. Young guys have problems with keeping up with some of the stuff. He's a better man than I am for probably being that when I'm that age, because I don't think I could be able to do what he does, some of the things he does. Basically, what I'm getting at is the last Indiana Jones was set in the 1950s. It was dealing with communists, which is fine.
This one's going to be 60s, and he's got to fight hippies.
Kind of where I'm going with this is, and we've discussed before, this character really, I think we both agree, this character works best set either in the late 20s or 1930s.
30s or 40s. I don't think they took place in the 20s.
No, I think it was all 30s. But I'm saying it's somewhere in that time frame when he was a, quote, younger archaeologist.
Well, and they were also, they were essentially Buck Rogers remakes.
The reason why I say I think the character works best in the 30s, because the more technology and the closer you get to, quote, modern day, to me, the less appeal that character has.
Yeah.
Because then he becomes nothing more than a modern day Tomb Raider. Instead of a female, he's a guy.
Yeah.
And I think that's what sets this character apart is it's not set with cell phones. You don't have all today's technology. It's back in a different time. It's fun to let yourself go back to that period and just enjoy a fun movie.
Yeah.
Where you don't have a lot of the amenities today. I mean, who wants to see Indiana Jones? Okay, this is also where I'm going with it. They introduced, in the movie Crystal Skull, they introduced, quote, that Indiana had a son. Name was Mutt Williams, or Henry Jones III, however it is you want to look at it, played by Shia LaBeouf. I'm not going to get into whether or not Shia LaBeouf is a good actor or not a good actor, but I think in this 5th movie, I also kind of want to know, is that character coming back?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because to me, you can't necessarily, if this is taking place after the Crystal Skull, you can't necessarily ignore the events of Crystal Skull. Because to me, if they sit there and come back with the 5th movie and him and Marion are together still, married, but there's no mention of Mutt anywhere around, then you're pretty much ignoring, that didn't really happen as far as that part goes.
No.
And I don't think you want to do that. But at the same time, if you do bring the character of Mutt back, you don't have too many options. And the first option to me would be recast the character with someone that looks a little bit closer to what Harrison Ford would look like as a young kid, at least in his early 20s. Just my personal opinion. Because I think if you bring Shia LaBeouf back, I think you're going to draw a lot of critics from the fans again.
Well, I would say wrong, that. Though. Well, you know what? 2 years ago, I would have agreed with you. All of a sudden, Shia LaBeouf has taken the James Franco. He's went to the school of James Franco, of formerly hated actors who all of a sudden become beloved by everyone. I don't know how it's happened. I don't know how it happened.
Because he hasn't really made too many movies here recently.
No, but he's kind of done what James Franco did some stupid crap that all of a sudden people like for some reason, and now everyone's like Shia LaBeouf, and there's like a song about Shia LaBeouf, and he's really become like James Franco part 2.0. Like, it's weird. Because even like James Franco, it's like, I don't know. Actually, I'm watching that Stephen King show starring James Franco. Oh, he's pretty good in that one. But even he's like still like a pretty hit or miss actor. Like, he's either good or terrible. Everybody loves him. And that's kind of what's happening to Shia LaBeouf, which is weird. And so, like, yeah, I think they could very easily bring him back, and everyone, you know, those kids that are a little bit younger than us, you know, they'll remember, oh yeah, he was in Transformers and Indiana Jones Part 4, but they won't remember how much everyone hated him for some reason back then. So I think they could bring him back. Like, he's really like, it's weird. I don't know how this works. I don't know how it worked for James Franco, and I have no idea how it's working for Shia LaBeouf, but all of a sudden everybody loves them.
Now, with talking about the franchise working best in the 30s, you have to assume that this is going to be Harrison Ford's last movie as Indiana Jones.
I think that's a fair
and Spielberg has made mention before that as long as he's asked to direct Indiana Jones films, it's going to be Harrison Ford or bust. Yeah. As far as he's concerned. Yeah. So you have to assume this is the last go-around for both of them. And you have to assume Disney is going to continue to move forward with this franchise without them at some point. A franchise like that, you're not going to let stay in the vault, you wouldn't think. Being Hollywood the way they are, you wouldn't think they're going to let it stay dormant for any length of time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I don't know. Probably not.
So my question is, assuming this is their last movie, and they move forward within 3 to 5 years after this fifth one, and they bring another movie out, and they continue on without those two guys, do they move forward from the point where they leave off with his son, or do they take it back to the 30s and recast the character?
Oh, that's because in my opinion, very easy question.
Right. I think you're on the same answer. Yeah. But my thing is, if you move forward from that point on and using his son, even though the character still be technically called Henry Jones III, he's still Indiana Jones' son. But how much are people going to buy into that particular movie with that particular character? You would have to assume those movies would be taking place somewhere in the 60s, possibly even early 70s.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you.
That sounds awful.
and I don't know about
like
you.
Horrible.
I don't know about
sounds
you.
Like the worst thing
idea.
Ever.
And what really makes me shiver about that thought is seeing an Indiana Jones character doing his thing with sideburns.
Oh, God.
It just doesn't appeal to me.
Ugh.
So you see where I'm kind of going with this.
Oh, I do. I don't think that's going to happen. I think if they continue the franchise afterwards, they're just going to reboot it.
I would hope so. Well, when I think reboot, I'm kind of thinking the quote soft reboot as I see it in my mind. Yeah. You recast the character, put him back in the 30s. You just don't touch anything that they've already done, especially in the first three. No. You don't go anywhere close to those particular storylines, and you just put him in new adventures.
Yeah.
That would be my
That'd be a lot
hopeful...
better than doing his son in this.
Yeah. Because can you imagine Indiana Jones' son going around trying to find some ancient artifact in bell-bottoms and sideburns?
I can, actually, and it's pretty awful.
I just don't know if I want to hear the Indiana Jones music theme being discoized.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
As I said earlier, as happy as I am to see Harrison Ford come back and do one more time, at the same time, where they go afterwards also scares me.
Oh, yeah.
Now, also...
They could also, I know it's not going to happen, but they could also just not make any more. I know that's not going to happen.
I know that's an option.
I think that's actually my favorite case scenario, because it's like, why do we need to keep making these? Like,
right.
We don't need to keep going on.
Now I had a thought, and I did put it in my post I made on my website. What if, and I buy this about as much as I believe the government can do right by everybody. Okay, so that's how much I really don't.
Apparently,
yeah. What if they pull a Force Awakens on us with Indiana Jones?
Oh, God.
You know where I'm going with this?
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
Where what if
Mutt Williams kills?
No, not necessarily that. But what if they have the character of Indiana Jones die by the end of this movie?
Like a new guy takes over.
I mean, just to say, this is the end of Harrison Ford's run. I don't think the chances of them doing that would be high.
I don't think they can do that. I don't think they can do it twice in a row where you kill off
a major character,
two Harrison Ford beloved characters. While we're at it, let's go put him in another Jack Ryan movie and kill him off there too. Let's just do it. Let's just keep going. Oh, let's bring back Blade Runner and kill him off there. Oh, I guess he was and then you find out, he was a replicant the whole time. Mystery solved, everybody.
Well, he is coming back in Blade Runner 2.
Oh, God.
So there is that possibility there.
Maybe they find out at the end of Indiana Jones he was a replicant all the time.
No. He was a Nazi.
Oh, he was a Nazi. Oh, and screw that. I don't like that. I'd rather him be a replicant than a Nazi.
But anyway, I had that thought and I put that out there, and I don't really think they would go that way.
No. But yeah, no. I know what you're saying. But I think since they already did it for Star Wars, they're not going to do it for this one.
But also, being Hollywood, never say never.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, we did see Uncle Ben die twice in less than 10 years with the Spider-Man movies. 3 times if you count the Spider-Man 3 where he gets shot in the... I'm not going to talk about that movie. Sorry, I'm going to rehab, Spider-Man 3 rehab right now.
So, speaking while we're on Harrison Ford, just to finish my last thought here, I am looking forward to the 5th Indiana Jones movie, and I hope it's really good, and I really hope it's as on par as what they did with Force Awakens, as far as the lovability of it all.
I hope they bring the aliens back, and I really love the CGI monkeys, and I hope they bring them back.
I did read somewhere where someone kind of put in sarcasm, you might as well just give Disney the box office award for 2019 right now.
Yeah.
Because they've got, their second part of the Infinity Wars? Is it that 2019? I
think so.
You got the final installment of the current trilogy for Star Wars, Episode 9. Then it's
going to be 2019? And then they're going through Star Wars fast.
Every 2 years, at least as far as the current Episode 7, 8, 9.
Wow.
And then you're going to have Indiana Jones, plus another Marvel movie, and I think something else. Like Disney's going to have 5 potential major blockbusters coming out that year.
Well, we're at it. Disney needs to buy Lord of the Rings, and why not? Warner Brothers, sure, go for it. Let buy all DC and Star Trek and just buy everything, because apparently Disney's really good now all of a sudden. Disney used to be, for adult movies, it used to be a joke, remember?
Yeah, and all their adult movies came under the Buena Vista banner.
Well, it's Touchstone.
Well, also Buena Vista as well.
Yeah.
And Disney's never really put out too many art movies that I'm aware of. And that's something we'll have to look up at some point.
We'll have to look that up.
See if they've ever
We'll do a podcast about that.
Yeah.
It wasn't R-rated. Sixth Sense wasn't R-rated. That was Touchstone. That was PG-13. Yeah, because remember The Happening. That was a big deal because it was M. Night Shyamalan's first R-rated movie. I've watched it. Have you ever seen The Happening?
No.
Get it with riff track. You know what riff tracks are? That's the guys from Mystery Science Theater.
Oh, okay.
You download it and listen to it with the movie. With riff tracks, it is the funniest movie.
Really?
It's a really bad movie. Really bad.
So since we're on the topic of Harrison Ford, though, what would you say his top 10 movies are of all time?
Well, I would guess number 1 being The Force Awakens.
Okay.
Number 2 probably. Well, that's tough. I don't know. Maybe Return of the Jedi. I don't know.
Well, number 10 is Air Force One.
Okay.
And now when I'm going this list is actual box office totals.
And you're not talking about
and I'm not
home video.
And I'm not talking anything of adjusted for inflation because of times gone by. This is just what they actually made in order from 10 to 1.
Okay.
Air Force One is number 10.
Okay.
Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom is 9.
Okay. Yeah.
The Fugitive is number 8.
Boy, that's a good movie.
Yeah, that is a good movie. Actually, so is Air Force One.
Yeah, it is.
I really like that movie. Last Crusade is number 7.
Okay.
Number 6 is Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Sure.
Number 5, Empire Strikes Back. 4 is Return of the Jedi.
Oh, I guess Star Wars did make more. I should have known that. Yeah.
3 is actually Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, at least money-wise.
I was going to say that one's got to be up there.
And it's actually the highest grossing of the 4 Indiana Jones movies.
Yeah.
Then the original Star Wars movie, A New Hope. And then, of course, the one that was just out recently, The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
And if you look at all that list, 8 of those 10 movies all come from basically Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
And 2 characters, Han Solo and Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
2 characters. Just those 8 movies alone anyone would kill for that kind of a career.
Yeah.
Even if those are only 8 movies he ever did. I mean, he's gone on and done a lot of other things, but that's an impressive list.
I think he was actually my favorite actor. I think it's probably everybody's.
But he is my favorite actor that I can think of, at least overall in general. Now, if you want to talk superheroes, that's a whole different thing. I just found it interesting. I thought, well, what is his top 10 movies? And I had a pretty good guess of what they would be, but I wasn't sure. Or your movies, what do you say your favorite is of those?
Out of all of those?
Yeah, of all of those.
Well, Empire Strikes Back.
And I thought he killed it on Force Awakens.
Well, I say Empire Strikes Back. I really like Raiders and Last Crusade. I've always had a hard time deciding which one I like better out of the 2. When I was younger, I always liked Raiders better, but in recent years, I kind of like Last Crusade better.
I'd almost put Last Crusade just above.
It's kind
Raiders,
of a better movie.
Just because, and I think this is the pushing factor for me.
The Sean Connery
The
stuff.
Sean Connery factor.
Yeah, it's really good.
And I think he really elevated that movie.
Yeah.
I think you couldn't have gotten anyone any better as an actor to put in as Harrison Ford's father in that movie.
And I love how I do love how like Sean Connery, like another action star more or less, he's not like a badass in that movie.
No.
He's just like an old guy.
A simple one of my favorite scenes is when they're in the car, they're in the plane, it crashes, they get out.
Yeah,
they jump behind the wall. The plane comes around and shoots at him. Sean Connery's character tells Indy, "They're trying to kill us." "I know, Dad, I know." "Well, this is new to me. Happens to me all the time." You know, it's just like, wow, what kind of a day are you having when this happens to you all the time? Yeah, and then you can kind of see where Sean Connery's character in that movie kind of comes around when he, takes out the umbrella and he does what you just said with the birds and stuff. And that's probably one of my favorite movies as well.
Very good movie. All those movies.
Some are better than others, but
I was about to say they're all great, and then I was like, oh yeah, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Now, if you want to put that in order, those 10 movies, Crystal Skull would probably be number 10.
Yeah,
if you put them in order of favorites.
Yeah, it wouldn't be on there because I'd put Blade Runner would be on my list anyway. Like if you're talking about favorite Harrison Ford movies, like Blade Runner's probably number.
Well, and then he's also done what? What is it? Witness. Mm-hmm. Didn't he do Regarding Henry? I think he was. I think he was in Regarding Henry, wasn't he?
I don't remember.
I don't want to say he was. I could be wrong. I know he's done some other movies. He was in that one movie in the mid '80s. Antonio Banderas' ex-wife, Working Girl. He was in that movie.
Was he?
Yes.
He was in.
He's been some other movies. I mean, he definitely diversifies himself.
Full Metal Apocalypse Now.
I don't remember.
It's a small role. Very small. He was in Apocalypse Now, but it's a very small role.
I know he was in that baseball movie here out for the last few years, 41, about Jackie Robinson.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He played the owner of the Brooklyn Dodgers. Or whatever.
Need to get caught up on movies.
And I didn't even realize that was him at first because they had him all made up.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that was until something caught my eye that he was like, "That's him." He didn't even look the same, which was pretty ironic.
Have you ever seen the footage of him reading the voiceover for Blade Runner? At the end of the movie, like in the original movie, it didn't screen well with test audience, which I think we're at a point now that test audiences might be the dumbest people in the world. So but I think it's okay to admit that maybe we shouldn't worry about them. But so Harrison Ford had to read his voiceover. They added a voiceover to the
end of the movie.
On later versions, they do the original or the director's cut that doesn't have it. But this voiceover is basically like Harrison Ford talking about, "Gee, I guess I am a replicant and I'm in love." It's not exactly like that, but it's about as stupid. And he's reading it and he's like, "This is crap."
Really?
He was really mad about it.
Wow.
Because it was really bad. It's probably part of the reason why nobody liked the movie was because the ending was so... In order to fit in what the studio thought that the test audience needed, all the stuff that they added in really made the movie stupid and obvious. And it's
I haven't really watched the director's cut. And it's been a while since I've seen the original of Blade Runner.
You might have. The director's cut has been around for a long time, so that might actually be the one that you're familiar with. It's been around for a very long time.
I think
90s is when it came out.
Okay, it could say it's been quite a while since I've actually watched that movie, so it's been so long.
It's really weird because there are two different versions of that movie, and sometimes you don't even realize which version you're watching, and then all of a sudden it'll happen. One of the differences will pop up. It's like, oh yeah, okay, I'm watching this version. On TV, they typically show the director's cut.
You say, as I said, it's been so long since I've seen that movie, I couldn't even tell you what happens on most of it anymore because it's been that long.
I tried watching it with my friend the other night, and he was like, "No, this movie's slow and boring." I'm like, "Man, shut up."
Have you seen the Ghostbusters trailer?
I did.
Your first impression? Your first impression in 2 words or less?
Not great.
I'll go with that.
Those are 2 words or less. I'm going to say, my big issue with it, I do like the cast.
Okay, I have no problem with them doing an all-female Ghostbusters cast.
Of course not.
I don't have the problem with that.
You and I will agree here, though, I think.
But if you watch that trailer, within the first 5 to 10 seconds of that trailer, they've already made a mistake.
Yeah.
Because they say 30 years ago, and then they put up 4 scientists. Think about it.
Yeah.
The original movie, there was only 3 scientists and the guy who got hired.
I know.
So it's like, where are you getting your information from?
Yeah.
who's the idiot who put that up there? That's inaccurate as hell.
Well, and then, like, I'm not even sure if it's consistent because it almost seems like a reboot.
I get the impression that it is a reboot, and from what I've seen of the trailer, that library scene, it sounds like, and I have not looked it up, and I should, it almost sounds like one of the lines in there spoken by one of the girls almost sounds like something exactly that was in the first movie.
I know.
And it's like, okay, what the hell? I was trying to be optimistic for this movie and waiting for the trailer, because if this was going to be just a movie taking place 30 years later,
that would be a good movie.
I like, okay.
Like a team of young girl scientists.
You know, trying to pick up.
This is the year 2016. There are girl scientists now.
Picking up the mantle.
To like, yeah, they're like, hey, let's go.
These guys did it. Why couldn't they make it? So let's give it a kick again. I'd have been okay with that.
Buy the shop, open it up, and get to work. Like, that would be a good movie.
And then have the cameos of the original cast of them buying the building from them or something. But it looks like and from what I understand, the cameos from the original guys that are still around aren't even playing themselves from the first movies.
Really?
They're playing completely different people.
That's terrible.
And it's like, okay,
why did they do that?
Right there, that kills it for me.
Yeah, it does. It does, because this movie did not need to be rebooted.
No.
Like, just make it take place in the same universe
30 years later.
Yeah, how freaking hard is that?
And the whole exorcist scene of Melissa McCarthy getting hit and her head spinning around.
It was pretty slapsticky.
It seems like they're going more for the comedy of it all and not necessarily... I mean, yeah, the original Ghostbusters had comedy in it.
Yeah.
But they didn't sacrifice the story or the movie for the comedy.
Well, the comedy was more in the dialogue.
Right.
It wasn't, I mean...
It wasn't a gag movie.
There were sight gags, but I mean, it wasn't like... Yeah, it wasn't a gag movie.
No.
It was dialogue comedy.
Right.
With sight gags. I mean, yeah, okay.
I just...
We'll see what happens, but yeah, if this is going to be a reboot, I'm not going to be very interested in it.
No.
Like, I think that's a huge mistake.
And
why does it say 30 years ago...
For scientists. Yeah.
Why does it say that if it's going to be a reboot?
Right. Don't even put that up there. I'm waiting for a second trailer before I completely just go one way or the other with it, because sometimes the first trailers don't always necessarily give you everything. Maybe the second trailer will be a little bit better. You know, if it's a reboot, come out and say it's a reboot. Don't lead us on thinking it's just a continuation. The director hasn't really even said one way or the other.
Probably because
they don't want to.
For all we know, the script may not be totally done. Like, whether or not it's a reboot or a sequel could simply rely on a few lines that the actresses could say in a sound room. So, like, they're probably fishing it out to decide whether or not it's a...
And if you look at the cast they have, I mean, they've got an impressive cast.
Yeah. Yeah, they do.
I mean, because you look down here, you got Chris Hemsworth as their receptionist. Okay, fine.
That's pretty funny.
You got Andy Garcia as the mayor of New York City.
No.
Okay, fine. Plus, you have cameos from Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Sigourney Weaver, Ernie Hudson, Annie Potts, and even Ozzy Osbourne.
No.
So, I mean, they've got a decent cast, including the cameos. I want to like this movie, but at the same time, they're not making it easy for me to want to do
I know, right? That's exactly how I feel. We'll see what happens.
And having Melissa McCarthy on there makes sense, because she is pretty much the hottest thing right now as far as, ladies in comedy.
And same with Kristen Wiig.
Right. And this Leslie Jones, she's on Saturday Night Live currently. So, I don't have a problem with the cast.
I don't know if I'm familiar with Kate McKinnon. That's a skinny blonde girl.
I think so.
I'm not familiar with her.
I'm not really familiar with her.
I'll have to look her up.
She's the one of the four, the one I'm not really that familiar with.
Yeah. I'll have to look her up, but yeah, I really don't know who she is.
Speaking of reboots, that leads us into something else.
Oh, segue. Look at you.
Yes.
It's almost as if you work for some sort of a television station.
And that's the way it was. Anyway, that actually leads us into the movie studios is looking to, quote, redo The Predator again, or at least bring back The Predator. But this time, it looks like they may be going more in the right direction, because this time the studio has gone after Shane Black to do it.
For those of you who don't know, Shane Black directed all the Lethal Weapon movies and Iron Man 2, and was an actor in the original Predator.
He wrote the original script.
Yeah, and he wrote the original.
He wrote the original script. Richard Donner actually directed all three Lethal Weapon movies.
That's right. I'm sorry. That's right.
But he's also written The Long Kiss Goodnight, The Last Boy Scout, Last Action Hero. Plus, he helped write Iron Man 3, and he directed Iron Man 3. Mm-hmm. So he's got some...
what was that other one?
The Long Kiss Goodnight.
No, there was one that he did with...
I'm sure there's probably others he's done.
Robert Downey Jr. That was really... Was it Kiss 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 Bang Bang?
It might be. I'm not sure.
I never saw it.
Yeah, he's got some hits and misses in there, and which everyone does in Hollywood.
If you don't know, in the Predator, he was the skinny guy with the big glasses.
Wasn't he the first one killed? I think so. I think he was the first one killed in that movie. I think he was.
I thought Jesse Ventura was.
No. Jesse Ventura gets killed after the first guy gets killed.
Was it? Okay.
Yes.
It's been a while. You know what?
I'm pretty sure. I'm about 70% sure Shane Black was the guy who was the first one killed in the original Predator movie.
One of my favorite parts of that movie is like it's scarier than your average Arnold Schwarzenegger movie at the time. It still has a couple of his like stupid little Schwarzeneggerisms.
Well, the most famous line came out of that movie was. I think the most famous line Schwarzenegger is known for that movie, or at least gets made most fun of, is "Get to the chopper."
Yeah, get to the chopper.
Yeah.
But then there's another one though, because of course, like they have to kill a bunch of brown-skinned drug cartels because it was the 1980s, and Hollywood didn't want America to know how involved Reagan was in that crap. so we had to turn them into enemies all the time. But they're killing all these Nicaraguans or whatever they are. Arnold throws a knife at a guy and lunges him through the heart and right into the wall, and then Arnold pretty much winks at the camera and goes, "Stick around."
That movie also had Carl Weathers and
Carl
Jesse
Weathers,
Ventura.
Jesse Ventura, and two former governors,
two actors who would later become governors.
Yeah,
you know what state Jesse Ventura was governor of?
Yeah, Minnesota.
You can get a gold star.
Thank you. I know my politics.
Which is one thing he
was an independent.
Which is one thing you'll never hear discussed on this show. So I will not do that.
No, I don't either. It doesn't belong here. This is for fun.
Shane Black was, though, originally said no to the original script that the studio presented that they wanted him to direct. In an interview he's done, he said, "They called me and I was reluctant. I said, look, you guys at Fox, I mean, I enjoy these movies, but we've been churning out these AVP whatever.
Yeah.
They each cost a certain amount of money. They're okay, but they're no effort to elevate them or make them any kind of event. Right. They're just sort of another Predator. Oh, there's another one that came out, they said. What if we said to you, we want to reinvent this and really treat it with as much of an event status or as much hoopla as we would an Alien prequel, which is coming out also. We really want to make this something, the kind of movie that people line up for. I said, really? You'll spend a bunch of money? They go, yep. I go, make it really scale spectacular? Yep. Shit, that sounds interesting. And then he goes on to say, I think the first one was great. It was contained. It was and
it had me in it.
It was a perfect little gem for what it was. I think there's an expansion that needs to take place. There's also just a love for that era, that movie, and the mythology of the Predator. I think they came to me knowing pretty much that they said basically if I wanted to make Predator but treat it like it was Iron Man 3 instead of just another little movie, I said let's really do it right this time.
That's very good.
And when
I really like Shane Black.
Yeah, and when asked about if whether or not they would try to bring Arnold back, he said Arnold would be returning for the latest film. Negotiations are currently in process and the script itself must remain a secret for the time being.
So he said would not be returning? Would be.
I'm hoping if he is returning, make it a small...
Just a cameo.
Make it a small cameo. Make it something like what that one general did at the beginning of The Predator or something.
Yeah.
You know, hey, we're going after this. You know, we got a guy, though, you want to talk to you first before you go.
Like, let me tell you about The Predator.
You know, I would be okay with it. You know, as long as he's not in the main action part of it and he's just a whatever type of role, I'll be okay with that.
You know, I mean, we don't need to see him again in Predator. We don't need to see old man
Schwarzenegger with his shirt off going, let's get to the chopper.
Give me my cane. Let's get to the chopper.
Did you see anything of the two Alien versus Predator movies?
Yeah, and they suck. They're terrible.
The first one,
they're terrible.
The first one I'll give a pass to. I kind of liked what they did. They didn't necessarily go for the gore factor, but it was at least enjoyable to watch. The second one to me went straight for the gore.
Yeah.
No.
Well, it was another freaking slasher. Like, small town, white bunch of dip-de-doos.
And if you look at
killed
that cast,
by a bunch of...
if you look at the cast of the second one, though, there is no one you know that is like who. Yeah. The first one at least had some stars in it that you could recognize. The second one did not, and the second one to me went straight for the gore factor.
A friend of mine tried to convince me that the second one was good, and I'm like, dude, I love you. You're one of my best friends, but this is not a good movie.
The only way the second one is
like this.
The only way the second one is good.
That is not good, Cecil.
The only way the second one is good is if you're having trouble sleeping, it's late at night, and it's on TV, and you need something to go to sleep by.
Yeah.
There you go.
I guess. I don't even think it's good for that.
Even then, that may be
I'll tell you what, the show that can make me that's the best thing for me to fall asleep is just...
The Thigh Master?
I was going to say Family Guy.
Okay.
You know how, like, Adult Swim will, like...
Oh, yeah.
Show a bunch of...
Family Guy, American Dad,
and,
yeah.
God forbid, Cleveland Show. Like, Cleveland Show, I'll fall asleep to immediately.
There was a few episodes of Cleveland that I found really funny, but
were they episodes or were they jokes in episodes?
Episodes.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
I will say they were few and far between.
Yeah, that's a bad show.
Well,
with a very unlikable cast. I know, like, characters have never been Seth MacFarlane's strong suit, but good lord.
The thing about the Cleveland Show is, and I can see why they did it, they tried to make it an actual kind of like a family type comedy, like you'd see like something on with a live action cast.
Yeah.
And they didn't want to necessarily do all the gags that Family Guy does, because then you'd be going, well, you're just a Family Guy in a different town with a different family. If they didn't want to do that, they tried to make it their own, and it just didn't work. It wasn't as funny. There wasn't as many laughs as you would expect from a Seth MacFarlane show.
It's like I said, though, Seth MacFarlane characters have never been his strong suit, and this one just had the worst. Like, you look at Family Guy, like, really, I know Peter's funny, but like no character development, and that's fine. Like, he's just funny.
Peter's just a moron. I mean, let's face it.
Like, I mean, Brian can be kind of obnoxious in later years, but in the early years, he was a very likable character.
He was almost like
they try to make him likable.
He was almost like the voice of reason in that show in the early years. Now sometimes he can be that way, and now he can also be just a complete ass.
Yeah,
depending on the episode.
But I mean, that's the thing. Like, even though the rest of Family Guy, like Stewie and Brian, are the only characters on that show that can really compare to the same level of character development that you'd find on like Simpsons or even South Park. To be fair, American Dad, though, and a lot of this is because Seth MacFarlane, in my opinion, a lot of this is because Seth MacFarlane actually quit writing the show for American Dad. He does the voiceovers, he still produces.
Right.
I think he has some input in the writer's pit.
Well, when you're trying to run it at one time, when you're trying to run 3 shows, I could see why you...
The guy who took over that show, he's been on since the beginning, but the guy that, like, he's been one of the head writers since the beginning, but somewhere around season 4, he became the main writer. Seth MacFarlane stepped down from that. That show is actually pretty good, and like the characters are actually very likable on that show.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, that kind of proves to me that that's always been his weakness.
And I don't know how much he's really doing.
One of his weaknesses.
I really don't know how much writing he's really doing for Family Guy anymore either, considering he's always out he's trying to dip his hand in movies. He's doing his music thing.
Yeah.
So I can't see how much of writing he's doing. It's just Family Guy to me sometimes tries too hard anymore to try and be funny when it used to be kind of come natural to him, and now it's like they'll get some funny episodes from them every once in a while, but it's not as often as it used to be.
Yeah. I like Seth MacFarlane. He kind of sometimes he gets on my nerves because sometimes he kind of takes the easy way out, but I still like him. Ted, by the way,
the first Ted's good.
I haven't seen the second one.
The second one,
no. I can't think of hardly any comedy sequels that are good anyway. So
no.
I was kind of hoping Ted would be the one to break it, but it didn't sound like it was.
No, it did not. And see, there's a couple scenes that were in the trailer for Ted 2 that to me made the trailer funny.
Yeah.
Didn't make the cut of the movie.
Really?
Now, I've picked up Ted 2 on home video, and I've got the unrated version, which I'm hoping has put some of those scenes back in. Which I have not seen it yet. I have not actually had the time to really watch it yet.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping the, quote, director's cut of that is maybe better than what the theatrical version was. It's not as good as the first Ted. It's funny. It's okay. It was not equal or better of 2.
I gotta say, the first Ted, probably my favorite. That might be my favorite thing that Seth MacFarlane's ever done. And I really liked Family Guy when it first came out, and I've had kind of a weird relationship with the show ever since, but kind of a back and forth with it. I just thought Ted was a wonderful movie.
Oh, like, I mean, it's brilliant.
It's just Family Guy
in a bear.
But yeah, it's instead of a talking dog or alien, it's a talking bear, talking teddy bear. It is so funny. It's a really good movie. I didn't see I really wanted to see, what was it, 1,000 Ways to Die in the West? It's the same thing.
It's okay.
I'm a big fan of Charlize Theron.
It's also got Liam Neeson in it. He plays the bad guy.
Oh, really?
I mean, there's some good parts in that movie, and it's typical Seth MacFarlane.
It looked really funny. I heard
It's got the same typical Seth MacFarlane humor. I think MacFarlane needs to stick more to writing and directing if he's going to do movies.
Yeah.
He was okay as an actor in that movie, but he may be able to write comedy for those type of things, but I don't know how well he can actually pull them off on screen.
Yeah.
I think so.
Maybe he's better voice actor.
Maybe if he had put someone else in the role that he played, maybe it might have been a little bit better. That might still be an if. To watch it once, I think you'll be all right. I'd go in with low expectations.
Back to Predator, though. We got a little off.
Yeah, and that's
what? Who cares? It's like we're just talking about stuff. Back to Predator, and same with Alien. And
I got the distinct impression from what Fox has said and Shane Black said. Basically, they're looking at this as a sequel, like the third movie, Predator 2. Now this one, I think they're pretty much ignoring.
Honestly, they should ignore the second one too, in my opinion.
Well, they're not going to ignore.
But it's got a fan base. So.
Yeah, Predator 2 with Danny Glover is better than the two Alien versus Predator movies.
Yeah, it is.
And they're also going to ignore. It sounds like they're also going to ignore the Predators movie that they did, where they set it actually on the Predators world.
I don't know if I saw that all the way through. I remember very little of it.
It sounds like they're going to ignore all those, and the only ones they're really going to kind of say that's happened, at least with this one that Shane Black's doing, is the first two, and that's it. And I'm perfectly fine with that. I mean, because there was such a unique way you could have taken that franchise with such a unique character as a Predator that you could have gone and really had a great franchise with, that they've at different points in time just put out cheap, quote, as you would say, slasher movies just to make some money and just to give some fans what they wanted, seeing them on the big screen, and they didn't really put any time or effort into.
No.
In this franchise of Predator, you could really be talking nowadays, oh, well, the Predator franchise, 5 movies, all great, da-da-da-da-da. They didn't try.
There's only one good Predator movie, in my opinion. I don't even like Predator 2. I understand. I've got one of my best friends loves Predator 2. I'm sure a lot of that is nostalgia, of course. But, and I get the appeal to Predator 2. Don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's a good movie. I really can't enjoy it at all.
Predator 2 is okay, but what bothers me with Predator 2, I'm not a big fan of Gary Busey, and he was in that movie. And Gary Busey was fine in Lethal Weapon as the bad guy, and to me, he's just the same annoying, even though he's supposed to be a good guy in this one. He just annoys me in that movie.
I know we see this in movies all the time, but the whole thing from first the Predator's in the jungle, and now he's in the concrete jungle of New York. It's oh my God.
Now I remember, because that came out, I think, right after I got out of high school or something like that. I did like the trailer and the way they kind of packaged that movie, because the late Fontaine guy that used to do all the voiceover for the trailers sat there at one point in that trailer. He's like, da-da-da, and he's dropping it in with a few days to kill.
They don't do voiceovers in trailers anymore.
After he passed on, they've stopped doing that.
Oh, I think they
had stopped doing that kind of before he passed.
Yeah. Well, if you remember Spider-Man, I think Spider-Man and maybe Lord of the Rings. I don't remember the trailers for Star Wars prequels, honestly. But I think those were the big three that kind of proved the trailer itself can be a short film. You don't really need a guy to sit there and tell you what the movie's about.
Right.
We've all seen movies. There's only 7 stories in the world. We can figure it out. While we're at it, though, when we're talking about Predator, as far as I'm concerned, Alien and Terminator, both of those franchises just need to stop. Just stop for a while. Just stop it. Mm-hmm. Don't do it anymore.
Well, and Ridley Scott is doing his Prometheus stuff, which he's now admitted that he's leading up to where the first Alien movies began.
Obviously, that's where they go in the damn spaceship.
Yeah, Prometheus, I think did okay, well enough that they're going. He's moving on with this second one, and it sounds like people are kind of hyped for the second one or for whatever he's doing. I'm okay with that. I mean, it's a little bit different direction, and the fact it's Ridley Scott doing it.
I don't mind Prometheus. I didn't think it was a very good movie. I don't mind if they do that as a series, but I'm just tired of the Alien series. They haven't been good since the second one.
Yeah, after James Cameron.
Terminator hasn't been good since the second one either.
Both second ones are basically James Cameron directed movies.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They both started off as basically horror movies.
Mm-hmm.
They did.
Low budget ones, too.
Yeah, horror movies that pretended to be sci-fi. Alien was a haunted house movie. Terminator is very much a slasher movie. He's very much, instead of a knife, it's a gun, yeah. Mm-hmm. But he's very much a Jason or Michael Myers type of character in that movie. Except better than than your
Can you imagine what Cameron could have done?
than your average slasher.
Can you imagine what Cameron could have done with that first Terminator movie if the special effects had been more like it was for Terminator 2? If he would have had that ability?
Yeah, but that's kind of why I like the first one though, because it's bare bones. It is pretty much straight up a horror movie. But even like the second one, and in the second one, T-1000, that's a great villain. But it's like, you guys need to just stop it.
I don't remember if it's on the which Blu-ray it's on, but there's one of James Cameron movies. It's either like Terminator 2 or it's Alien. Maybe it's Aliens. Maybe it's the second Aliens movie. James Cameron was talking about, he had gone to the studio, I think it was Fox. He really had this idea for the second Aliens movie. He really wanted to do it. But he'd only been a writer, he hadn't really directed anything, and Fox knew that he was working on trying to direct this Terminator movie. And on the Blu-ray, from what I gathered, is Fox basically told him, like, look, you do your Terminator movie. If it does well at the box office and does moderately successful, we'll talk. So he went off, he did his Terminator movie. It turned out to be a decent hit, and that's how he was able to convince the studio to let him do this Aliens movie.
Yeah.
The guy obviously he's shown success. I mean, with all the movies he's done since. But that takes balls in a certain sense.
Did you hear he's still trying to make an Avatar trilogy or 3 more?
You can do 3 more. Well, see, and some of the people I've listened to before,
I like Avatar. Don't get me wrong.
They're happy that he's going to do more Avatar movies. Biggest complaint I've heard about towards Cameron is it's taking too long to get there.
Yeah.
Because by the time he even starts filming, because he's supposed to film all 3 kind of basically together.
What's he going to do? Like a Lord of the Rings type movie on that planet?
I don't know. He's going to film, I think, all 3 sequels at one time. Obviously, you know where he's going and edit, and then basically release one a year after that. But the time he even gets to the second one coming out, it's going to be close to 10 years, if not longer, before the second one even comes out. So it's just like he
needs to just drop it.
It's taking too long in some critics' eyes to get there. Now, that's not to say that they won't like it or like what he does when it does come out, and that it won't necessarily be a success, but people are kind of probably losing a little bit of, Avatar, yeah, I remember that movie.
I was about to say that. Is Avatar, like, does it have the same pop cultural significance as some of these others?
I don't think it does.
I don't think so either, and I'm not really sure why.
I don't think it does.
Part of it is I do kind of think the story wasn't exactly strong.
I think the people who like Avatar and saw Avatar will always like Avatar, but it's not one of those movies that you see on TV.
I think there were people who just wanted to see like a beautiful world.
But at least in my mind, if I see 4 or 5 really good movies plus Avatar on cable, and I'm wanting to watch something and not have to put something in or turn on Netflix, Avatar is not the one I'm probably going to go to.
Yeah.
Just because, I mean, it's okay. Mm-hmm. I've seen it. Don't need to see it again. I'm good. At least in my opinion. So it's just my taste. Now, other people may have different opinions about that, and there could be some Avatar fanatics out there that watch it all the time. Which, if that's the case, good for them. But
they're called avatars.
Just out of stupid question, you think Ghostbusters will fail or succeed?
A movie has to be really bad to fail. That movie doesn't look really bad. That movie looks like a decent comedy. What do you mean by fail, though?
I mean...
not reach expectations?
Bombs at the box office fail.
I don't think it'll bomb. I think it's possible that it won't reach its expectations that the studio set for it, because studios... I like special effects as much as the next guy, but one of these days, studios are going to have to tone some of these movies down a little bit and go and not spend so much on the budget, because it's really getting to a point where we don't need it.
Well, Deadpool is a proven $60 million.
You're right, yeah.
$60 million budget, and it kicked ass at the box office.
You're right. You could kind of tell it was a little bit lower budget than your typical superhero movie.
But
the only part that you could really tell was Colossus. And I kind of think Colossus, the way they did him, was kind of a mistake on that movie. But they probably should have just did what they did on the old ones and just get a big guy and put CGI metal on top of him. He was like borderline...
cartoonish?
Yeah, he was like borderline, how the Hulk used to look in those older movies. Borderline that, in my opinion. So. But, that was a good movie, though. I really like Deadpool. What else?
I don't know. I was going to ask you any last thoughts, because I think we've come to the end of this particular podcast.
Well, I'm also going to come out with a podcast. By the time it comes out, Batman vs. Superman will already be out. I'm sure you and I will both see the movie by the time these podcasts come out, yours and mine. I also want to point out mine. We're just going to talk about it a little bit, but on my podcast that we'll be doing, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man.
Spider-Man only does however that song goes.
I think it's important to talk about him because he appeared in the trailer, and
which I've tried to intentionally avoid on my this particular podcast?
I have to be honest with you. With Batman versus Superman, I was building up more and more excitement. I'd always been on the fence. I'm not 100% behind Zack Snyder. I love the cast of Man of Steel. Actually, I think Henry Cavill is really good. But I'm not 100% behind Zack Snyder. And on top of that, it's like I wasn't sure if I was ready for a new Batman. Although I will say though, as time went on and as these new trailers came out, I got more and more excited for Batman versus Superman. And then the trailer for Civil War came out that showed not only Spider-Man, but Black Panther and Ant-Man and Vision and all these other characters. That Spider-Man thing at the end, you know what? I'm no longer excited for Batman Superman anymore. This has totally trumped that. So there you go. But we're going to talk a little bit about Spider-Man on mine. So there you go, man.
Tune over to the True Believers to find that one shortly. Give it a few days. If you don't see it, keep checking back. As always, thank you for joining me today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
No problem. As always, you can find me on my Reggie's Take Facebook page, Reggie'sTake.com. Or if you want to talk with me, hey, you can always catch me on Twitter at Reggie'sTake. And, of course, you can also find my podcast on SoundCloud. And we'll talk at you later.